Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Just Another Kill Team podcast, connecting kill team communities across the globe. If you're passionate about the tactical skirmish game that brings together strategy, lore, and creativity, you are in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay updated with our latest episodes. If you want to support the show, check out our Patreon. Your support means a lot to us. Follow us by using the social media links in the podcast description for all the latest news, and be sure to leave a review to let us know what you think. Thanks for tuning in. Here's today's episode.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to try a slightly different format from the usual today, just because I'm curious to see if we can dig into like the hard parts of building up playing a team. Because you have some experience doing like Hand of the Archon and a couple other things, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I am mainly a 9 to 10 upward player team, so you always have to choose depending on what faction you're playing against, depending on the map. So there's always some definitely operators you might want to take or not, depending on the situation.
Okay. So that's always good. And how do you want to be introduced on the podcast?
Tomas is the best player in the world.
Okay, all right, hold on. You gotta go to world. You gotta win worlds first.
Ouch! I gotta go to get a golden ticket
You're
first.
You're still chasing, right?
You could be like
I'm
the coolest
chasing.
player in the world. You could be,
You know what? Accept it. I'll accept the coolest, greatest, most handsome player in the world.
Yeah, but you're still chasing the ticket at the moment, right?
Yeah. I lost it in Florida. I have to win it in New York, probably.
You're pretty close, though, right?
Yeah, I'm always guarding it. Eventually, I'll get it.
I mean, look, we got the New York Open right around the corner. There's a couple other events in the area, so I'm sure it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah, and with the Clade, it's doable. It's probable.
Yeah, but not. You're off of Hand of the Archon. If Hand of the Archon weren't nerfed, would you be on Hand of the Archon instead of Battleclade?
Oof. Honestly, probably as much as it hurts, probably not. Handle the Archon, even if it was still the same or a slight buff. First of all, Sanctifiers. It's Sanctifiers or Sanctifiers. And now Battleclade, they are pretty good in 12s. I'm sad to say this. Not a fun time to be an elf. If those teams are out, then yes. Absolutely.
All right, so I kind of want to structure this podcast a little differently than our normal podcast. I want to structure it as this is how I look at a team, or someone will look at a team and build out an overall structure to like getting better with the team, you know, because we're all Battleclade and Raveners. Hopefully, if this format feels like it's good, we'll try it next week with Raveners. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a golden ticket person on who's playing Raveners. But I kind of want to structure it as like the first impressions of a team, and then playing the first couple games, then analyzing those results of those games, and then from those first contact, how you set up going into a tournament, and then kind of not an after action, but just the differences at each of those stages. Because I think when you are playing these sorts of games, you have your first impressions, but generally first impressions don't really last through the first couple games. You know, like everyone thought that Deathcore were going to be broken, but it turned out that Commandos were the broken one eventually. Even, you know, in that edition where Commandos were able to like teleport into In the Dark. So that stuff is gone, but we're in a whole new context nowadays. So why don't you tell us about your first impressions on Battleclade as, you know, a Hand of the Archon player, primarily as far as I knew you?
Absolutely, yes. A Hand of the Archon lover, I like to say. Honestly, when I first saw the rules, I was incredibly interested in Raveners. But then, as I saw the rules for Raveners, I was like, okay, it could be a really good team. It could be a stat check. But then I saw Battleclade. It's like, okay, they have shenanigans. They have good AP for elites. They have good overall shooting and slightly average melee for hordes. They can play the mission. They can play the kill against elites. It's a lot of tools for a lot of situations, and that's like, okay, it might be slightly better than Raveners. It's not a bad combo to have when you can choose to go into hordes or elites or medium-sized teams. When you have a lot of tricks, not when you have a lot of good feeling tricks to go for against your opponent, it's a really good team to have.
And what kind of tricks did you like first identify just reading the rules before you actually got to play? Because you mentioned it, they have the Pierce 2 to manage elites. They got the Pierce 1, the Pierce 2, which is good. They've got a lot of silly things. You know, you're out activating your opponent in weird ways, and you're kind of working like Imperial Navy breachers in some senses, where you have flexible GA2. But there are also some weaknesses. You hit on 4s.
Absolutely.
And coming from Dark Eldar, you didn't have to manage hitting on 4. So, you know, when you're reading the team, what are you thinking when you look at like those raw stats?
Yeah, coming from Dark Eldar, hitting on 3s and technically 2s with ceaseless and probably accurate. It's not great hitting on 4s. But then you see, okay, so you have 5 attacks hitting on 4s. Not great. I will say, like, it's not a great stat. Piercing 1 or piercing crits, slightly better. Less chance of the opponent saving. Then you see the rules. Okay, accurate 1, pretty good. Accurate 2, well, on advantage. Then it could be with balanced and ceaseless, and you just keep on adding a lot of stuff, which makes your shooting even on 4-ups like incredibly accurate. Kind of like Handle the Archon. You have a lot of tools to make yourself more accurate. Then kind of the shenanigans that you first see. You have the flashy double shoot. As soon as I read the New Sphere Counteract, having the option of just having 2 of your heavy gunners, like your best shooting or your most flashy options, shoot, which I managed to do a lot of the time in my games. With 10 models, you're probably going to have some double shooting on 3.3 or 4. That's the flashy one. There's some not so flashy ones. Your leader giving ceaseless to everyone, that's amazing. But also your leader having an insane alpha strike, that's pretty flashy. First activation 3.1. It's nothing to sniff at. You see all these flashy plays, and then you start realizing they are way easier to do than you expect. The double shooting again against hordes or against elites, it's really easy to get those double shootings. Leader just giving ceaseless to to the entire Space Marine team in 3 activations essentially is pretty nice. It's not bad. It's not a bad combo. Your leader giving in 5 games, my leader by himself scored me, I believe, 11 plant beacon points. Can't complain. It's all those like weird things that make it so much better.
So, like,
Yeah,
you
they're
don't
definitely-
Alpha Strike and plant beacons, do you?
No. So the Alpha Strike is you have I believe it's a 21-inch threat range only for shooting. Only take it. So I'll explain. So you do a 3-inch dash with the scouting step with a recon. Then on the strategic, you would move the leader to probably the midpoint. It's only works on Bulkus, obviously. You move the leader on a reposition to the point, and then you have a move dash to get within, I believe, 1 inch of the opponent's drop zone on depending on the map. And then you could shoot with a 1-inch devastating 3, lethal 5. Not bad. But no, you could. I never did the Alpha Strike. I always tell my opponents just so they can kind of space out more, just kind of keep them a bit more honest. When you only have 2 long range threats, you kind of need a bit of threat. But the planting beacons on the strategic is amazing. I love it.
And for planting beacons, it sounds like one of them is the boss man. Is one of the other ones like the medic or something? That's what I was looking at when I was looking at the team.
Yeah, so you pretty much have. I think of them as 4 normal servitors that are the horsemen. Leader is obviously. I use my leader. It depends on the situation. If you're playing against Space Marines, leader for the first 2 terrain points is always going to be standing in the back, not doing anything, just giving ceaseless. Last to be deployed, last to be activated, gives ceaseless, move to a bit different point, ceaseless again. That's 3 ceaseless in 1 activation essentially. Because next turning point on the strategic point, you get another one. But after that, or against hordes, where you don't really need that much guarantee to kill 7 wound models, unless they're sanctifiers, you need the leader for other things rather than guaranteeing kills. So you can be much more aggressive with them because you can move dash, plant beacon, and then if you lose initiative, you can always run back. You can always run back or get into a range for get down Mr. President. Then the other workhorses, a great workhorse I always use to get the beacon within, well, outside of 4 inches of my drop zone, auto proxy, always. He just stands there giving Ceaseless, not Seek Light, Anti Obscurity, Saturate,
An accurate
and
one from a bubble.
an accurate one within 9 inches or 6, or yeah, or he's just a Newsfreak actuate machine, essentially, just standing there. And then yeah, my medic, he's always gonna be next to my my arc rifle, always next to him, always within 1 inch of him and another plant beacon, so he can make my gunner better, my essentially my whole team just straight
Okay.
up better.
So these are all like the layers of tricks and stuff that you can like read the rules and kind of into it. Obviously, you played a couple games. It sounds like you were, I think when we had talked, it sounded like you were playing a little bit on TTS, maybe a little bit in person before the models had come out, which, makes
Yep.
fair enough sense. From those first couple of games, were there anything that you thought was better than you read and things that were worse than you read? Because, when I read, I'm like, oh, I can make the hitting on 4s work, but sometimes it doesn't work. Like you were mentioning, when you're shooting against Space Marines, you probably need a little bit more than just Ceaseless, because Ceaseless
Yep.
is not good enough because they still have a 3-up save. So if you're landing 3-4 hits, they're going to block 2-3 hits, and then suddenly you're not doing anything again. So you do need that accurate 1, or you need that balance, or you need something else to like push it over. So like after your first couple games, what kind of weaknesses did you see compared to what you were reading?
Absolutely. My first thing, I thought it was one of the best equipments in the world. It was it's amazingly fun. The concealed apparatus, it's one of the most fun things you could do. Just just change the whole team where they are in one strategic phase. It's crazy. Uh, Turns out not so useful if you position your models correctly. Um, I used to take it all the time on first games. I've used it once or twice, mainly for just flashy purposes. Um, it's not that great. I generally never took it in my tournaments. I never took it because there's just better things to do. You have the comms, you have the reserve cells. I thought those were pretty useless until I started using them. Turns out the reserve cells are amazing. Even if on a D3 you get 1 point, that still equals 3 victory points on plant beacons if used right.
Yeah,
Because
because the
for
neurocentric
anyone,
reserve cells are the ability for you to get a free APL on the turn that you transfer power from one of your dorks. So you can move, plant a beacon, then transfer that power to another servitor and have that servitor plant a beacon. So it's kind of like once a game you get a fudge. You can't shoot on the activation that you get the extra APL, which is important to note, but definitely you're going to be needing to move on these 5-inch movers. So being able to get rid of one of those problem pieces, up to 3 of them for the course of a game, is pretty nice. It's interesting to hear that you don't like the covert guises because it's a neat ability. I kind of agree that it does. You kind of have to have your opponent play ball. Like you have to position aggressively to get some use out of it, or you're staging in a way where at the beginning of turn 2, you can shuffle some pieces around and your opponent has to manage. Suddenly there's a Melta in their face. So it's good if you're going to play aggressive, but it sounds like after your first couple games, you weren't really looking at playing a particularly aggressive turn 2.
no, and coming from Handle the Archon, where you can be extremely aggressive and go for a quadruple kill if you want to. Not really, but almost.
You can do like a
Uh,
double kill pretty reliably.
yeah, double or triple is easy enough. But going from that team into Battleclade, I thought when I started playing Battleclade, the best way is just stat saturate. Turns out with 5-inch move, not too much, no APL modification at all, aside from the reserve cells. Battleclade, if you try to play aggressive, you're gonna end up having a bad time. what I like, it's exactly what you said before. Like I used to try when I wasn't like on my first games to recon dash or cover guys a model, then move dash him like off after my opponent activates to across the map in his territory, and then next turn point have a melta on their face. But then your melta needs accurate, because on force you're not gonna be hitting that much, and then if you whiff, you lose a melta for nothing. You still have a medic or a server or a flamer, but it doesn't help that much. And that goes into learning this team a bit more. Starting off, I was a medium to aggressive player with Battleclade. Now, in my tournament I went to in KTFO, I can honestly say that for most of my games, I played. It was a 5 round event. For 4 of them, I did not pass uh, the 4 inch line from my deployment zone until turning point 3 with everyone except like one model for plant beacons. Because this team is so aggressively, it's an explosive team where in one turn you can just table the opponent if you get it right.
Yeah, because it's the only team that can have every model shoot twice effectively. It's
Yep.
possible. It's not super likely, but it is pretty close to being reasonable where you can have every single servitor try to do 2 aggressive actions. Although you probably need to bring crack grenades if you're going to do that. It's actually interesting to hear you mention, the comms device. I also noodled around with the comms device a little bit, and it definitely does a lot on the team because you attach it to your underseer,
Mhm.
and then your underseer's bubble on all of its operatives is now 9 inches to be able to do the shove from the auto proxy or itself. And you
Mhm.
also have accurate 9 from itself, which is really important. So it just ends up giving you this massive amount of range on your auras. And it's interesting to hear you say that you're setting up this team as like layers of kind of like turrets, effectively. You're playing turret defense, it sounds like.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
not how I would have expected someone to kind of like fully play the team, just because being able to be aggressive and like having your melt a gun rewind is pretty nice. But if your opponent's not going to play ball, which it sounds like people weren't playing ball,
Yeah.
then yeah, you really don't want a ceaseless melt a gun doing all the work.
Exactly. Yeah, and like you said, you have so many attacks, and then you have double shooting. Essentially, you pretty much have 4 AP2 weapons if you get the 2 inch range on the breacher. Then, essentially 6 AP1s in one turning point, counting cracks, uh, which is kind of insane. So if you position correctly, then even if your opponent like hard pushes one flank, you're always going to have at least 3 AP shots on that side, which is really, it's kind of hard to counter. Um, that, and yeah, the comms device is absolutely, you need the comms device. I think unless it's ITD and the map just completely denies it, which I still took my comms device in 2 of my 3 ITD games. Um, you need it. You need it for, it's the pseudo comms with the dashing and activating with the accurate. This team loves accurate. Even flamers still benefit from accurate because it's 1 less dice you need to roll. I do love it. It's on ITD. It's slightly not as effective because you need to go through the doors and everything. But in Volcus, I never not take it.
Yeah, and what was kind of like the light switch moment for you in the middle of your gameplay where you realize I can't be playing this team like a push team where I go yeet myself on turn 1 with these alpha strikes and my melt-a-gun going out there, and you switch it to this more kind of like layered defense strategy where you're using the power of plant beacons, which we all know is kind of good, even if you have 5 inch movement. If you can just leave a servitor on the other side of the map that your opponent has to interact with, and you can have him do the beacons after he moves up 8 inches to get to the midline and stand there in cover. And then his friend is like, yo, put the beacon down. And he just does it. Like that's a lot of pressure that you're applying to your opponent. So when did you make that switch? Like what game did you realize the hand of the Archon style push strategy wasn't working? And what made you switch gears?
Well, the game I still have nightmares about it. A 21-0 game. Uh,
Well, do
yeah.
tell, do tell.
It was against Sanctifier, so take it with a grain of salt. But I just moved everyone up. I took conceal apparatus. I got cover guys. Got the perfect 3. So I moved 4 guys with a recon dash. an ITD forward and say, okay, we're just gonna push, and then if they push back, I still have all my weapons. They're gonna be within 2 inches of each other, and then if I win initiative turn point 2, that's gonna be a torrent, or that's gonna be an amazing torrent for my flamers or for my heavy gunner. Deny the get down, Mr. President. It's gonna be a great time. I did not have a good time. Let's just leave it like that.
It turns out if you push up really close, the servitors, while they're like okay, I think defensively in melee, they're not good against the specialists. Like 4 attacks, still pretty good against you. You have to make those feel no pains because chain swords in 2 hits will kill you. So you got to make one of your 2 5-ups, and you still need to land one of your hits to do the shock severe thing. And if they land 4 hits, you still always dead.
Yep, and you have to be ready also for the shock and severe. So that's even worse still. So also, quick point, the Iron Halo, the 5-up Feel No Pain, surprisingly good. That kept my servitors alive in a lot of melee against clowns with 5 attacks hitting a 3 severe, 4-5. You just need 1 to go through, an average roll, and then you survive. Or against bolters, amazing.
Yeah, turns out Feel No Pain's very good at this edition when they're applied to the whole team on basically every single hit. And you've got 8 wounds and 11 wounds and 9 wounds, which are all really good break points for 4, 5, and 3, 4 weapons, right? Because if you're getting hit by 3, 4 bolters, you sometimes going down to 2, 3, which means that your 8 wound models take 4 or more hits. Your 11 wound models could take up to 5 hits, which is kind of crazy. And then your 9 wound models also take a full extra hit most of the time to go down. So one single round of any sort of fire is not going to do it, nor is one round of melee most of the time, but not all the time.
Yeah, most of the time, if you're getting charged by a chainsword or by a Space Marine, Phobos Space Marine, or Reaver or whatever, your models are not going to be. You're going to pick the pieces up in a little baggie. It's not going to be nice, but eventually they're going to slightly whiff. You're going to get at least accurate 1, so you're going to get at least 2 hits maybe. That's going to keep you alive. I found this. I played against 2 Phobos. The Feel No Pain is amazing against bolters. Sorry, Jason, I know you love your Phobos, but they are really good. And the heavy gunners are surprisingly tanky in melee and in shooting. They do not like to die with brutal, shock, severe, and 4 attacks. If you get all the ploys up, they probably will not die against almost anything.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the big things, like, because you can afford to just like stand out there and do the shootout. That's what you want to do. You can like take some hits back and just like keep shooting. And then like even if you get injured and you're shooting back and your heavy guns shoot twice, one of them's injured, it's still huge value.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to, I was speaking about being aggressive. If you want to be aggressive, a great choice is one of your heavy gunners. I would say the heavy bolter is not as great as the arc rifle. Push that guy up on one flank. Just push him up, put him on a point. He will get balanced. He will get accurate 1. He will get +1 attack in melee. That model, if you want to do the aggressive play, is a great model to deal with. Pair it up also with a medic that's going to be within 3 inches, maybe planting beacons on that side of the map. That model is amazingly tanky. Medic, a great tool to have. I took him in almost all my games. You would drop him. Speaking of it about the team composition, I at first thought the out proxy was not that great. No shooting, worse melee. He doesn't heal. If you don't need too much anti-obscurity, and if the map is a narrow map, you might have thought of dropping him. But just having the added benefits of saturate, he has too many rules. The saturate, accurate 1, he has too many rules to keep out. The medic is still amazing. He's one of the best medics in the game. With no APL negation when he revives, healing D3+3. He's really good, but there's times where you need a 3rd flamer against elves. Sadly, my elves they get pretty badly hurt by those 4/4 saturate flamers. They're not having a good time right now. But it's a really good operative app, but it's a situational one. You might drop them eventually.
Okay. So those are definitely interesting notes. The medic is obviously one of those things where if you're not getting into a shootout, it's not really going to do anything unless you take crack grenades, which I guess we haven't really touched on. Do you end up taking grenades a lot just to give your 3 kind of support pieces something relevant to do? And also, I suppose, your Underseer, because his gun does damage, but it's not like the most threatening thing.
No, I always think the Underseer's weapon is slightly okay. He can kill an elf maybe. Every time I shot with him, like when I pushed up to get plant beacons, he would have to eventually shoot. That weapon never did anything. At most, he did 4 damage in 3 games. He have actually shot. Not great. But for equipment, crack grenades would be a great choice if you could choose 6 equipment. The problem is you need comms. You need reserve cells, in my opinion. You need in ITD. You obviously need barricades. Also, real quick, proxy servitor in huge rooms of ITD, amazing with Seek Light, anti-obscurity, saturate. Put him next to a gunner, insane. You need. I love taking ammo cache. Ammo cache is just another added way to get your 514s that much more reliable. 514s, plant a beacon next to it with ammo cache and ceaseless. Essentially, 514s relentless. Amazing. Against the times where I would take crack grenades or any other equipment, like it's against Space Marines, I took crack grenades because more AP is better. Against elves, just only 2 hits needs to kill them, and the ones with less attack, again, better. But it's only when you would really do not care taking barricades or you don't have a need for comms device in ITD. It's really situational, I'd say.
Okay. So not a lot of room. It sounds like sometimes room, but ammo crate also competes with that slot, right? Like ammo crate and crack grenades are the 2 things that are kind of interesting just because you, like you were saying, you do want the extra reroll some of the time.
Yeah. Yes, and when you can double shoot in 1 turn, with 1 balance, it's now 2 balanced. Well, not balanced exactly, but yeah.
I mean, like the combination
Stacks
of
with
accurate
balance.
with ammo crate and ceaseless means that you're like, well, I'm gonna roll 5 dice, but I'm gonna roll 8 dice, and I'm actually gonna hold one of those dice. So I'm gonna land theoretically 4 to 5 is the range we're looking for, and that can be real good.
Exactly. And combined with advantage, so accurate 2, even better.
Yeah, because this is definitely a team that can get some use out of standing on vantage compared to a lot of other teams. Because just standing around getting shot is a lot more palatable when you both have a cover save and you have enough wounds and a shrug. And if you're injured, you still provide something useful because you can still shoot and then pass AP to the next operative to go do something else.
Exactly. This team, yes, it suffers from being injured. Flamers not so much. They still hit on 3s, but even your gunners, they are still 5 attacks hitting on 5s. It's not horrible. With all the rerolls that you can get, it's not impossible that you could still kill Space Marine with that weapon, even uninjured. And if they get revived, they're still going to be able to double shoot if they are unengaged with Medic. Also, a really amazing tool that I started using. It's not flashy. It's not going to win you the game instantly, but just Newsphere counteracting and going and conceal with someone that already went. It's so good. That saved my breach and scored me so many points. It's so nice.
I've done that a couple times. It feels very rude when you're playing a game at the end of like, oh, I've done some shooting, and all right, my next activation, this guy's gonna shoot, and I'm gonna have this guy flip back to conceal, and then we're just gonna plant a beacon. You're almost like, wait, I thought you said that you have to do an action. I'm like, no. It says at the beginning, change the order, and then do the rest of it. So you can also do some really gnarly stuff like on In the Dark specifically. I had this happen in some of my games where you're like ready, you have the dude that was looking at the door, your opponent gets shot once, and then the guy behind him flips to an engage order, shoots, kills the guy that was ready to do something, and then they go do something else, and then you activate him and move him to conceal and stand on the point. And now you're like reversing the order that people are having to interact with threats on. So I think one of the big things that I felt like when like playing the team a little bit is that you get a lot of value out of every threat just being theoretically on at all times. So your opponent has to pretty much always respect the whole board, and because there's a lot of your opponent is done activating on this board, and then you start activating and ignoring stuff. But this team can catch a couple people unawares, which is always a useful thing for new teams. Obviously, I don't know how long that advantage is going to last. You know, maybe it'll be like a Wormblade or Void Dancer situation from last edition, where it's only good for a couple months. But I get the sense that having the entire board being kind of like a sensor network, and if your opponent ever makes a mistake, suddenly a robot wakes up, whirs into existence, and just blasts them, is still going to be pretty relevant, especially because it's, the flamers are good, but short range. Did you have any issues with playing with all the short ranges on the team? I had some of those issues, and I noodled around with playing 3 bolters, but I did it the wrong time because I was playing against Space Marines, which is not where you want to run 3,
Nope.
4-on-4s, 3-4 severe bolters.
No, the phosphor. I actually never. I have a phosphor. The blaster. I have the blaster.
Severe
Yeah,
bolters.
the bolter.
That's just what they are. Like they're phosphor bolters. They fire napalm, but really they're just bolters with severe, which is great.
Yeah.
I love bolters with severe. Sometimes it's just you got to have a bunch of them.
Yeah, I only have one build. Honestly, I have one build only for one matchup in one map, Falgor. Against everything else, I think the best play to play this team is just the castle. Just get 2 points and don't move from them. If the opponent gets to the center point, okay, you're gonna get shot by 2 flamers and then a melta. You do whatever you want to do. This team really shines out activating opponents because you're playing the Battleclade game. You're not playing kill team. Kind of like you said before. This team forces you to play their game at their time, at their place. It's kind of like Mandrake's this edition and mainly last edition, where you have to play to counter them. If you leave a Melta or a heavy gunner in the middle point activated, thinking that's gonna just stay there the whole game, it's gonna shoot your Marine or shoot your Falgor in the back, 5 attacks, sitting on 4s, balanced, ceaseless, whatever, and just gonna nuke you without even trying. So it forces the opponent to A, play more cagey than they thought they would, therefore letting you move up safer in a castle doctrine, or B, it's gonna force them to shoot and kill or charge fight out in the open some useless schmuck like not the proxy, but the medic or a flamer out in the open grabbing beacons, and then your other 6 guns can shoot them easily without even, and then go into conceal with a Noosphere counteract. So it's a really difficult team to play against and as, because you need to know all the places. You need to see the angles. If you set up a correct firing lane or a death zone, then that the middle point on some Bulkus maps is absolutely just untouchable to enemy teams if you out-activate them.
All right, you guys, jumping in right away to let you know about the Battle Box from Crossfire Games. This thing absolutely rocks. It holds everything, all of your tokens, cards, miniatures, scorecard, dice tray, and everything. Super incredible. I am very jazzed about it, and you should be too. Check it out. We've got a link in the show notes, and you can pick one up for yourself.
Or if they activate it, they know that they're going to die afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, one of the things that I got some use out of, after my first couple games is finding a spot for the last cutter to go sit behind a wall, cut a hole in the wall, and then you're just waiting for your underseer to tell him to yeet himself through the wall and suddenly blast your opponent. Your opponent's got to respect that 4-inch bubble around that access point, and also they have to respect the 7-inch bubble or the 6-inch bubble when you walk through, or if they're getting out activated, that 6-inch bubble is now a 9-inch bubble, because you can move 4 through the wall, get told to dash another 3, and then blow someone up. Or if you're really, really industrious, you can have him move, then dash, and then have the underseer dash him forward again and then shoot. So the actual range is from an accessible point from the last cutter. Or if you're really spooky and you really want to put all your eggs in one basket, you put your melt-a-gun and the las cutter behind an accessible point, and those two ranges you can sit on what is effectively a pretty safe bubble. There's one of those Volcus maps where that small stronghold has no objective in it, so the only reason to be there is to stage, and you can have the best staging point where if you activate your opponent, you're like guaranteeing they're going to get hit by two Pierce 2 guns on either their home objective or the middle objective.
Yeah, that's really not great for any other team. I love it for ourselves. I also love again staging on some Vulcus maps where you have the stronghold touching your deployment, but you can't fit inside the stronghold. Just activating the auto proxy, moving him to the comms device, the underseer, moving him to the comms device, making the breacher breach a point, and then all the team can move through it easily, and they can reach the other end of the stronghold and then stage up, and then the breacher can do another breach. So it's a double breach in one turn. Also, I love this in ITD. This again forcing your opponent to play the Clade game. It's a slightly broken ability, but getting around guard is really good. It happened.
You wanna explain it from top to bottom for any of the listeners, because
Absolutely.
not everyone is like super aware of how guard works, because guard has a lot of weird intricacies, and this team basically just full on ignores it.
Yeah, this team says no. So essentially, guard is an interruption of an activation. So it only interrupts an activation. So then you can fight, shoot, or point blank shoot. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a TO, so just check me out on this. So then when you activate, you have to first of all, before anything, say if you're going to Noosphere counteract or not. You can't choose to Noosphere counteract after doing an action. You have to say it before, because that can get kind of messy on activations and kind of gamey. But if you are behind the door and you have two models ready to go, looking inside a room with a guard opponent in there, you can Noosphere counteract. One of the models opens the door and conceal. That door is open, but they're both models are still in conceal. As soon as his activation ends, so as soon as he opens the door, the other model that's looking into that room in conceal will then flip to engage, go to counteract, and shoot. If hopefully you kill the model that's guarding, but if you shoot and the model that's still guarding is still alive for some reason, you shot on a counteract. Guard does not interrupt counteracts. So the model's going to stand there on guard, and then if you don't have any other threats, as soon as your time to activate goes, you can then shoot again at that model, hopefully killing him, or just closing the door and staying safe.
It's true. Really, that all works. Yeah, it's because guards only work on during activations, and when you're network counteracting, it's technically a counteract. So you can even do something as cheeky as shooting and then on your actual activation, taking that model that just shot and just like moving away from the door to go do something else. So there's some silly stuff you do. Or you activate that model, flip him to conceal, and then walk him into the room to go do something else. So there's a lot of very tricky things to do. Although, I will note that for experienced players, we have plenty of ways of getting around guard as is. So while it is cheeky and good, I don't really know if it really makes guard any better or worse, just because there's so many ways around it to begin with, where if you're walking into the room guarding, what you actually want to do is walk to the far side of the room and guard from a position where your opponent, if they want to get inside the room, has to physically see you.
Correct. Yeah. Well, you can also walk into the room behind cover, and then at next activation, make you shoot with counteract, and then you get around everything essentially. But it's still useful to guard. It's still going to force you to deal with it, but it's a really good tool to have in ITD.
Okay, so putting it all together, we have all these tools. We started as we're gonna try the Unga Bunga Yeet stuff on turn 1, and we've wound that back in practice to playing a little bit more defensively, having your flamers walk up just in positions to just stand there and get ready to plant beacons. Instead, if your opponent wants to come interact with your midline, there's nothing to interact with. You're just waiting out the time at the end of turn 2. Get all these tricks. You're throwing away the covert guises because they're not doing anything, or not the concealed apparatus, being able to switch all your stuff because you're not gonna put yourself in a position to get shot. So you're heading into this first tournament. Part of the reason why we're bringing you on, because you did pretty well at the Florida Open. I don't really remember what the exact name was.
Yeah, Kill Team Florida Open,
Kill
KTFO.
Team Florida Open. So you have all of this practice. You're going into this tournament. You're playing a more turtley style.
Mhm.
So what is the overall game plan, the strategic layer that you're thinking about before you go into these games? What are like the things you're trying to do? It sounds like to me, from talking about it a little bit, your goal is on turn 1, prep for plant beacons on turn 2, and nothing else. Just play defensively and have all of your guys ready so that if your opponent does push to the midline and then push to you, you can shoot him with the full force of AdMech superiority.
Pretty much, the Omnissiah will smite them essentially. So yeah, the main plan is pretty much Testudo, just form a shield. They're not gonna get past your mid zone. Coming in into the tournament, obviously Sanctifiers are around. You have to plan around Sanctifiers, or against other teams with security. So how you'd counter it, you would see, depending on the map and the situations. I was willing to risk my leader. I was willing to move up my leader as much as possible to contain, and then move him back on the next starting point to a safer position. But generally, the move was, if they weren't not running security, just hold the line within 4 inches of my drop zone. Put some breach markers in the center points and wait them out. Luckily, there was only one horde in the tournament, Sanctifiers. No, not even a horde. So everything else was Raveners, a lot of them, a lot of elites, and a lot of other like 7 to 8 one operative models. So I only took one tac op. I didn't even grab the rest from my little bag. Plan always for plant beacon, and then just hold them back. Hold the enemies of the Omnissiah. That's pretty much it. The first
So that was
round,
the plan.
yeah,
That was the plan going into the tournament.
yeah,
I think you lost your first round,
yeah.
and then you won
I
your
went
next
for
4
one.
rounds, and you got, I think, third, if I remember correctly, or second.
Uh, no, I got a fourth by 2 points, I believe.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
first round loss. You had the plan. What happened to the plan?
The plan is as sturdy as the shield. First round, I played against Sanctifiers, so in ITD. So plan was put 4 models. So I don't exactly remember the map, but I had my home objective, pretty much near my drop zone with 4 doors looking in. So 4 servitors just standing behind that door, waiting to shoot anyone inside. My leader and another servitor just for get down Mr. President, holding down the middle by themselves because leader is deadly against any horde. And in ITD especially, you have to clump in. So getting the leader within the 1 inch devastating 3 is amazingly good. And then on the other side, just gun servitor and out proxy to cancel out any opponent going to his point out in the open. It all was going well until he just moved everyone into that one room with turning point 3 last activations of turning point 3 4. And my gunners whiffed, which they will in 4-ups. I had an amazing torrent 1 with one of my gunners. He got, I think, like 2 or 3 shots, just whiffed everything. And then Henosphere counteracted to my other gunner in the other point, which I moved up to his point. He shot point blank at a preacher. Just could not kill him even with 4 hits. P1, it is Sanctifiers, it is what it is. But sadly, 4-4 weapons against Sanctifiers still can't guarantee a kill with Flamers. He brought the medic, so saving on betters, on Forbes, I believe, with ceaseless, with a lot of the
Ignoring
shenanigans that they do.
piercing.
Ignore piercing, so it's a lot of stuff to get through. Even then, it was a really close game. He just crit upped me, essentially. He just flooded my point, and then he just kept even on the other two, and he just got it.
So
So Castle Doctrine would have worked.
okay. So the his big push wasn't until the end of turn 3, so turns 1 and 2 were pretty cagey.
1 and 2 were really cagey because he knew that anyone that went into that point, he gonna deploy the professor way too far, and he didn't know if to put him on the middle point or my home objective point. So his confessor was kind of in the back, not pushing forward. So he couldn't get the big push that he wanted. And he knew that as soon as he pushed into that point, I was going to get 4 shots in. So he kind of had to wait for me to out activate. We had to do some different moves on other sides. But it wasn't end of turn point 3. Like mid turn point 3, he chose to push. When his plasma was there, when his medic was all there, ready to go. He had like 2 preachers, the prosecutor. He just had to set it all up. And then kind of a massacre happened in that room.
And then he pushed up with the lead the procession on 3, overwhelmed the handful of servitors, and then was able to push through and kind of overwhelm from one single spot. Because I know, thinking about Sanctifiers, they tend to be maybe a little weirder in the dark, but if you can stage up enough and creep up enough, then you can still get some lead the procession stuff going if you're in one spot and suddenly the whole team is inside the room. And while your opponent can shoot twice, with the bubble up, you could take a fair amount of fire, as long as you're not getting blasted or torrented, which I assume he took great pains to make sure that didn't happen.
You have to stay outside of 1 inch. If you stay outside of 1 inch, you're not gonna get. Unless you take frags, my whole team is 1 inch blast or torrent. So as long as you stay out of that clumping death zone, you're fine. And yeah, like I can still shoot a model and probably kill them. But when 5 operatives go inside your room with -1 damage, rerolls, it's pretty hard to take care of those. And then they just then 4/4.
They can still roll dice, they can still save, they can still do all that stuff. So it's definitely one of those hard matchups where you've got to score enough points and not get destroyed on the turn that they hit the procession. But it sounds like on In the Dark, it was harder to avoid. Do you think if you had played them, having thought about it a little bit, if you'd played them on Volcus, you would have had a better plan against Sanctifiers?
I think so. The problem, yes, I think so. Yes, because your gun lines can support each other. You only have 2 long range threats, granted, but those 2 long range threats are actually 4 because they shoot twice. And then your leader can move really easily to whatever side he needs to because he has an insanely good shooting, or he could just do plant beacons on other parts of the map rather than just only on that one room. I think on open, it's way easier. Sure, they have more places to hide because it's not huge empty rooms, but I think it would be easier to just put the gun drones on vantages. They really should not be taking long range, so you just shoot down at your pleasure.
Okay, so the plan didn't work because your opponent was still able to overwhelm the castle just with 11 models because nothing had happened really for the first 2 turns. So he just overwhelmed you. So maybe this was one of those games where trying to find a way to be able to yeet a melt-a-gun might have provided a little bit of value.
Yeah, it could have been useful.
So that was another thing that, was maybe a thing that you could have done. But that's the first game. First round's over. Castle Doctrine's still in place for the next round. How did it work compared to the first round? Contrast, like when it works, what does it feel like? What are the things that you're seeing get done?
When it works, it's beautiful. It's just like an opera just going perfectly. Everything is going great. So second round was against Nemesis Call. Really important to note, against Nemesis Call or Phobos, their box scream, their Omni Scramble do not work on you. Well, for CP, they do not work on you. So really important to know. It was Bulkus. I believe it was.
You can purge the debuff, right? So when you get Omni Scrambled, you have an ability that basically purges toxins on any of your models, and it specifically calls out when you would activate a model, you can have someone with anything on it remove those things. So it's even before you activate a model. So specifically is worded to let you get around Omni Scramble. So you can get Omni Scrambled, that's fine, and then you can spend a CP to ignore it, and then Uno reverse your opponent and suddenly
That's
surprise
super
that
interesting.
dastardly Phobos player.
I thought the way that it was, like, if I Omni Scrambled you, you'd counteract shoot me anyways. So you just activate someone else and counteract shoot. But also, if you can just purge it from the system, it's double useless.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's actually funny because counteraction doesn't work because it specifically calls out you can't do actions with Omni Scramble. So you can't even counteract your way around it. But you could definitely purge the toxins from your body and make your opponent sad.
And I guess at least for like Vox Scream, you could turn off Vox Scream.
Yep.
Also,
you turn it off for the whole game, essentially, because it will cost them 2 CP to do it next time, even though it still costs you once. So they pay 1 for it, do nothing. They hope for that you won't use it again next turning point, and still does nothing for extra CP. So that's really good. Yeah, again, another really good ploy that you have that's situational, but it's amazing when you need it. But yeah, so against against Nemesis Claw, it was Bulkus. I don't exactly remember. I think the mission was Intel, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. But it was the Vulcus map where you have the center point inside inside the big stronghold, the double vantage one in the middle. And you have a really open point on your side, and then a really defensive point on the enemy side behind the small ruin. So he won initiative. He chose the better side, obviously. The really defensive side. He gave me the side where the smallest stronghold is touching my drop zone. But it didn't matter. I was never gonna go to his point. Battleclade, stronghold, defend, protect your points. So I just first turning point, put a heavy barricade in. This is a trick I learned. Just put a heavy barricade in an empty side of your drop zone. Put your gunner and your medic and your leader on that behind that heavy cover, so they have a really good heavy barricade. They have a really good line of sight on everything, and then just keep them there essentially the whole game. So I stage up.
Mostly because your opponent has to respect that heavy barricade for the rest of the game, right? As long as it can see the whole board, wherever you go, there's theoretically an accurate one, no obscurity, seek light, saturate, ceaseless, hitting on
Balance.
4s, gun, just hanging out, ready to nuke your opponent. And if you do it in a spot where that's 4 inches away, you can also have that guy plant a beacon first, so that he always has that strat ploy where you get a command point reroll, basically.
Yep, I actually, now that you mentioned, I do use covert guys for that reason. For my heavy barricade ploy, I just didn't see the point for it. The point where the barricade was going to go is really good, so whatever, that's fine. But I just positioned essentially the entire team going into the middle point in a defensive enough manner that his models could not cross the stronghold to get it to me. I played barbed wire, put the point so his Space Marines could not go through one side of the board of the stronghold without crossing it. Then I did 2 breach markers on my side of the stronghold. Easy access for me, not for you, because they had to get to it to cross. My whole team just waited out his activations. My leader gave out Ceaseless to essentially have his team, everyone in that side of the board where the central point was, all of them had Ceaseless on them starting turn point 2. And then on my home side, I only had my Underseer just protecting and maybe giving some shenanigan actions. My Heavy Gunner and my Melta just as a threat, a deterrent for him to go into my point. The whole game was just waiting out, forcing him to move his model into my point, which my point was the central point, but it was mine. He was not going to touch it without dying. And then as soon as he moved one model up, he was going to get shot by a heavy gunner and 2 flamers and the breacher, no matter what. Leader was going around just planting beacons like crazy. like he always does after turn point 2. I don't like it, but I'm fine sacrificing my leader to get either a potentially devastating shot on one of his models, or I just move my leader up to get beacons, force him to charge me out in the open, so then he would get shot. I have 10 models, he has 6. I'm fine doing 1-for-1. Your leader doesn't really do anything for your team after he does the important things on turn point 1 and 2. He's a good shooty weapon, but as soon as he plants beacons on hit your side where he is, he's not going to run to the other side of the map to plant beacons, so it's fine. And yeah, he just could not do anything he wanted. He couldn't charge my side of the board. He could move. I forced him his Screecher to move, dash, and throw and shoot my leader. He failed. Yeah, he just didn't get all the hits he needed, and leader saving on 3s with balance. He's not gonna die probably. And then that Screecher died instantly. The next activation by getting double shot. Same thing for his Skin Thief. Skin Thief charged. He killed the model. Good for him. He got shot by a Heavy Bolter and a Breacher. AP2. Instantly died. And there goes. Went again and again. One of his models had to move forward because then he would lose because he had horrible.
So this is kind of like the generic strategy against the teams you would out activate, right? It doesn't matter if they're L's, it doesn't matter if they're Marines, but it could matter in some cases if they're something that gets back up, like Necrontyr, who have been doing very well as of late. So I'm kind of curious, this sort of kind of like I'm going to wait out my opponent to out activate them and then nuke them when they go touch stuff. It works pretty well for a team like this that gets so many aggressive activations. But what happens? What was your game plan? Obviously, this didn't come up because Ben was on Higher Tech Circle out there. Battle Brothers Ben, who does Kill Team Casuals, he's out there with a nicely painted Higher Tech Circle team. And Higher Tech Circle are not a team that is going to play that game. They can just teleport someone into your line and just start blasting. So what was your? You didn't have to play against it, but what was the game plan against something like Higher Tech Circle? Or like Void Dancers who are going to get into your lines as early as possible, jump over, kill a guy, then move over and shoot someone else. Like, what is the game plan against someone who can go past that first layer of defense on the castle and hit your midline?
Against I knew Ben was going to be taking Higher Tech. I know he's a really good player. I have to respect his players, his moves. So first order of business, be incredibly cagey. Again, Battleclade, but be really careful of the 9, essentially like 10, 11-ish inches he can teleport. Be essentially in your drop zone for the first turns. You can't really do much about it. You still out activate him. You can still beat him that way, but they get back up and then they still shoot you. If I played against Ben, I was absolutely thinking of doing the Alpha Strike with the leader. That's one of the times where I would be happy to lose. I would gladly lose 3 leaders if I can kill the Reanimator or have a chance at shooting at his Prentech first activation of turning point 1. Because he's down 2 models he would really need, or 1 model he would really need, depending on what option I had to shoot. After that, there's only so much you can do against Higher Tech right now with the teleportation. Try to shoot him with AP. Your gunners are still reliable enough to kill his leader if he goes unengaged to do the magnify and the other thing that he can do. So it's doable. It's just really tough. Your AP2s, AP1s, and crack grenades are gonna do you a lots of favors. 5-up Feel and Pain also. It's 4-5. If they don't get any crits, it's likely that you survive. Well, not likely. It's possible that you survive some other Gauss attacks. So that's not a bad play. I was lucky to not have to fight him. It would not be a great match at the moment against Higher Tech, but there's definitely things you could do. You could just focus on the crit up. Honestly, focus on the crit up. Focus on planting beacons. Don't really engage them too much. That's as
Yeah, just
much
manage
as
the
I can
guys
do.
that go in and teleport. Try
Mhm.
not to have your things get too close. And if they are going to do the teleport, try to have it be in a position where at least you have a chance to go snipe
Mhm.
the higher tech leader or the apprentice, right? Because they do have to move up within 6 inches of the
Mhm.
drop off point for them to be able to get the shots off. And as long as you can return fire, at least you've got a reasonable chance of doing something in response.
Exactly. As long as you keep the medic within 3 inches of both gunners, or if you keep the gunners really safe, then you potentially have 15 shots going his leader's way or his apprentice's way. So one for, well, if he teleports, he's gonna kill something. But one for 3 models, that's as much as he could do. Um, Again, reviving your heavy gunner and then shooting again when counteract is still good, but that's as much as you can do. It's a really
Yeah.
tough one to go at.
All right. So you
Yeah,
finished this tournament. You did. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
if you dangle stuff that he can teleport strike and you're covered by the medic, then he can't really get away with doing the teleport strike since he can't shoot twice, so he can't kill you through the medic.
Mhm.
So that's definitely an important thing to be thinking about. So just kind of like some stuff from an elite player's perspective. I guess this mostly this is something I would think about against higher tech circle as well, and then against things that out activate you. So if you're playing against a horde,
Mhm.
what I always want to do when people out activate is force a shootout early. So if you put a lot of
Mhm.
pressure on someone and then they like have to start reacting to you, and now all of a sudden it's a shootout where everyone gets to shoot a bunch. But like Battleclade does that even better because the earlier the shootout happens, the more likely you are going to be landing shoot twice. Big
Yep.
like mesh network of everyone's shooting twice a bunch. And for
Yeah.
that reason, I
Absolutely.
think I'm going to throw this idea out there to plant a seed for anyone else to think about and listeners and everyone. If I was going to play Battleclade, I think I would bring 5 phosphor rifles like a madman. But hear me out. So one thing I do with Phobos specifically is you look for a little gap where the enemy is already spent out, and then you just like run in there, and then you start shooting people with ignore obscuring, which you can have because of the Omnissiah, the Eye of the Omnissiah dude, and then you're just like ripping shots at back. You noospheric counteract, shoot them some more. So really, if you can just sneak in one little angle where you have multiple targets that are expended and like no one can shoot back at you, you just spread out a network of that, and then you just do a shootout where no one shoots back for the first like 30 for the first like, and then on turn 2 you've got a proper shootout, but you have such a strong lead already that it's probably going to go your way.
Yeah, honestly, I might be building some bolters with severe. They I see the pool. I just I being an elf player, I don't
Hear
hitting
me
on
out.
these.
What if you had played against the Sanctifiers and you had
Oh,
5 Blasters? You send out the dude to go stand in the corner, and then when your opponent Unga Bungas, suddenly every Phosphor Blaster in a 12-mile radius trains on and just fires 2 times. Is that a strategy? Do you feel like
uh,
that could be workable?
it could be, and honestly, I think Battleclade win any shootout. I Battleclade beat Tau. I think I play against
Oh yeah,
one of
they'll,
my
they'll
benchmarks.
easily push out
Yeah,
enough firepower to beat Pathfinders right now.
yeah.
Pathfinders prep
Mhm.
a lot of work to kill one guy, and then the Battleclade just shoot like 17 times on your 6 guys. And right now, Pathfinders require a lot of alpha striking, and those
Mhm.
alpha strikes, they'll kill 2, 3 guys, and then those things will be gone,
They
and then
just
you're just
die,
playing
and then
like
the
a
team just
normal
collapses.
2v1 shootout. And you could have a medic camping on there. So the fact that you have a medic and the Tau have a medic means that your shootouts are going to work out well, which is maybe another point in favor of having Phosphor Blasters. Me personally, I've built my one,
Mhm.
and now I have 2 others that I've built. So I've got the full spread of 3 if I really want to, just in case.
Yeah, I don't think
But I
it's a
haven't
bad
gotten a chance to
idea.
play with it yet. That's definitely a that loops us all around to the last part of like getting to know Battleclade as a team. You've played a bunch, you had your first impressions, you thought they're going to be like an aggro team, you got rid of some of the cute cheeky stuff and decided to turtle up, play plant beacons as your primary game plan, and goad your opponent into coming over while using your 10 operatives to be able to pinging at your opponent as they go past the midline. And if they don't go past the midline, you just walk a dude over, plant a beacon, and then just stand there and wait for your opponent to interact with you. And then at your first tournament, went pretty well, except for the Sanctifiers hitting you with the full force of the ecclesiarchal god and spiel. But you were able to poke holes in everyone else's game plan by having you out activate them. So coming all the way around to the end of the tournament, what are the things that you felt like were accurate at the beginning that you were cool about, and where are you right now? Like it sounds like you're building some phosphor blasters now as an adaptation, just so that you are not trapped on playing the fully short range game, because it sounds like, just like me, you've had some issues where you're out of the long range guns and now all of your short range guns are dead, and now you've got 3 dudes with crack grenades, and that's not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think, again, having a bit more range might be pretty good, especially now getting more in tune with the bonuses and the buffs that you can get. Absolutely, it might be worth it. With accurate, getting accurate too, it could be a play there. Some takeaways.
Maybe some
really
unexplored equipment choices. It sounds like if you're playing this castle doctrine, maybe the protective barricade with a save 2 on these extra tall gunners. Do you think there's any exploration there that you're going to trying to do?
The unkillable heavy servitor, I tried it already once or twice in TTS. Putting a heavy gunner on plant beacon, near a plant beacon behind the light barricade with a medic nearby, and an ammo cache if possible. That guy is not gonna die. He is just gonna keep on moving forward and forward and forward, and there's pretty much almost no way to kill him, because you're not gonna kill him in one shooting action. He's gonna noob spear counteract, make the medic heal him to full essentially, and then shoot you. And then if you shoot him back, medic is gonna, on his activation, heal you, and then make him shoot. So that's just a moving tank, essentially. I love that play.
That's incredible.
And
That's
actually, talking about the adaptations after this tournament, when you realize that having maybe a couple more long range options is good, using that as like this forward anvil piece that's sucking up all of your opponent's time while the other gun is on a heavy barricade on the full ass other side of the map, while the 3 phosphor blasters are hanging out. It actually sounds not that bad, because you've got all the support pieces floating around, and you're playing a long range game, which lets you play plant beacons, lets you have your forward operatives just kind of behind barricades your opponent really doesn't want to interact with, because they got to roll their eyes every time you're like, well, I have a 3-up save, and they're like, yeah. So it sounds like that's one of the adaptations you're working on. Anything else after this tournament that you feel like maybe it's underexplored? And it sounds like you played plant beacons this whole time. Do you feel like there's some play on something like surveillance, maybe, where you just have one dude on the opposite side taking pictures, kind of like mandrakes?
Yeah, I think surveillance can be really good, especially because you have some strategic point shenanigans you can do with the leader. The leader moving up, surveying, and then running back is an option. If not, having a servitor schmuck, just moving up. If you don't have that much threat on that side, just surveying, or move, shoot, and then counteract, survey. It's still really good. You can get the best of both worlds. And then if you want to make him safer, just have the underseer dash him back to a safer position if needed later. That's the thing I'm thinking of running. Confirm kill, I'm thinking it could be good against certain teams, but Plant Beacon is so easy in Recon. It's not really too much point in trying something out when it's so synergistic with your rules. That's really good. I am not going to try Wiretap, sadly. I think that one is a skip for me. I think there's some more shenanigans. Getting better at keeping some extra CP for the remote access. I think the remote access is pretty much the unsung hero of the team on specific missions. It's so good at just stealing the opponent's point away. Just having a underseer without visibility, just tapping a point is amazing.
Yeah, so you can do one where there's a heavy gunner already on the point and he's just distracting your opponent, and then because he's there, a little tendril pops out of him, hooks up to the point, and you steal the point from your opponent. Your opponent's like, wait, I thought you needed control. It's like, nope, it says as long as I have an idiot distracting you, the data tendril uplink will steal me the point.
Mm-hmm.
Really good on loot, really good on anything where when touching the point you get a score. I got probably really funny on extraction when you leave a distraction piece in the middle and your opponent's like, should I charge that and fight that? You're like, yeah, do it. You're not gonna kill him.
I want to play extraction so bad. No, obviously, no tournament is gonna. I hope I don't play extraction in a tournament, but but playing extraction and just stealing a point, and just running away with it could be really fun. Also, a really cool tool that you have, if the opponent is running in against Raveners. Raveners are a pretty tough team to play against because they just hide until they're in your face. And if they run Implant or any other team that runs Implant, just making your opponent have to kill you with 2 fight actions. Just fight. If they don't kill you, okay, I'm going to fight again. At least going to get 8 to 9 damage through. And then I'm going to fight again if next turn point if you don't kill me. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you just threaten your opponent with a bad time, so they have to make the choice of, do I implant for score or do I beat this guy over the head? Although, having watched a couple Raveners players playing, it sounds like they're just hiding around, shooting with their tails, and then going back into the tunnel like cowards.
Ravener players are so annoying. They're one of the worst people in the world. They just don't want to let you shoot them. I don't get why. Just hiding in their little secret tunnel. No, but I think Battleclade is a really fun, really interesting team to play. One of the best things in the team, I didn't think the Noosphere Counteract was going to be so fun. You can do so many things. You can just change the game completely out in the blue, which I did not think. When I read the rules, it's like, okay, that's a pretty neat ability. It's going to come in handy, but it's really fun.
Yeah, it's a full game changer for real. So, I guess tying it all up a bow, what's something that you're looking forward to doing on Battleclade? Something that you think is unique to Battleclade that people should do, and a team that another team that kind of reminds you of Battleclade, or if they're fully, different, then there's nothing
honestly
else.
A team that reminds you of Battleclade, my first love is always going to be Handle the Archon. My second love is what's that guard? Krieg. This team reminds me somewhat of Krieg, just having a lot of things to control the opponent. Before it was the spotter and the sniper, spotter and plasma and the demo mine. Now it's if you move into the point, you're gonna get triple shot by pretty much anything. Or the proxy servitor just Noosphere counteract, make the heavy gunner shoot, kind of like the sniper back then. It kind of reminds me a bit of Bedguard. I love that team. I'm so sad, but looking forward to it. I think running, honestly, if we get some changes to the TAC ops, it might be interesting to. I am thinking maybe recover item, honestly, with a pickup within 4 inches. It could be pretty good depending on where they're placed, but the other Dex Priests can definitely steal those punts and run away with them. And then some fun plays, honestly. More taking crack grenades, going forward with the flamers, or maybe some blasters. I think could be more fun. Going a bit more aggro could be interesting. Like finding the perfect balance.
Yeah, and there's still so many random toys to play with, right? Changing the number of dorks with guns versus tech pieces. It turns out that a lot of the equipment actually sounds like there's a fair amount of play, between the ammo crate, the heavy barricade, the portable barricade, and I assume normal barricades. If you're really going to go for the gun line, you could just split them up, add them everywhere. So there's a lot of toys to play with, and like I agree, if there's a new archetype deck, or maybe if they just patch recon a little bit so that plant beacon's a little worse, so that people have to do something else.
Out there,
The world is kind of their oyster because they have the ability to break a lot of the core rules of the game. Wiretap is bad, but maybe the next version of Wiretap will be good. Maybe the third time we'll stick the landing.
That's the dream. Yeah, I think looking to the future, the future does look to be shining on Battleclade. If we get some nerfs that some teams probably need, I think Battleclade would be up there shining the grace of the Omnissiah onto a lot of teams.
I don't know if people want that kind of grace. The Auspex, the Omni specs, it's so bright.
Yeah. They have to embrace the light or face the might.
And I would remiss if we didn't try to connect one last community around the globe. We've had a couple of Florida people on here. Langdon was on here a little ways ago talking about Higher Tech Circle. But you want to give a shout out to the Florida homies, talk about any of the events that are coming, or your friendly local TO in October who's running a tournament.
My friendly local TO is pretty good. He's not that great at the game, so it's
yeah. I hear he's washed.
Yeah, pretty washed. Yeah, but no, like the Florida scene, it's insane. The whole state essentially is in one Discord, just talking, playing games every Friday. Every city goes up and plays in Ocala and Warpfire. Shout out to Ben. Honestly, Battle Royals Ben. He is the greatest man I've ever met. Sorry, Travis.
Mad about that.
Yeah. Yeah, Landon, he's a great player, honestly. Kind of sad he wasn't there to defend the Florida Golden Ticket, but we'll get it next time. There's so many great people. Eric, Jeff, Landon, Vaughn. He just won a Golden Ticket. So I'm really happy for him. There's some really great events coming up in Florida. I think in September or August. I'm horrible with dates. We have Crucible in Orlando. It's amazing. It's a golden ticket event. Everyone should go meet the Florida people. We are, not to brag, but we are an amazing community. Really great. No bad feelings. I never had a bad feeling ever, even when losing, which hopefully that doesn't happen too much. They're just great people, honestly. George from Miami, just building up the Florida scene. In Miami, he's an amazing guy. Yeah. New York is also amazing, but
all right, we'll get links to all the Florida tournaments coming up, as long as you remember to send it to us. So if there's no links in the show notes, you guys know who to blame.
I'll try to send them. Yeah.
All right, well, I don't really have too much more. Hopefully everyone appreciated this kind of like weird format where we try to guide around, the whole process of learning a team and kind of digging into the intricacies. If you guys liked it, give us a shout out, right, Jason?
Oh yeah, let us know. Hop in the Discord, YouTube comments, and just wherever is convenient for you. Let us know what you think.